In the quiet corners of the mind, a shadow stirs, a thought confined. Not flesh or bone, but born of dream. A spirit formed in whispering gleam. A tulpa rises, soft and clear. From hidden depths it draws near. A voice not spoken, but still heard. A thought made real, an unseen word. It walks beside a silent guide. A presence felt, yet hard to find. With thoughts of its own, a world to see. A soul entwined, yet always free. In moments still, it quietly speaks. A voice that guides, a heart that seeks. Not ghost or spirit, not mere thought, but something deeper, a gift long sought. It grows with time, yet never leaves. A part of you, in mind it breathes. A tulpa born in the quiet mind. A friend, a guide, forever kind. In the vast expanse of thought's wide sea, it walks beside you, wild and free. Not of the world, but part of you. A tulpa's gift, forever true.
Welcome to Grim Grotto. My name is Dave.
And my name is Julie, and today Dave and I will be discussing tulpas. So this topic we kind of briefly touched on when we were discussing Dybbuk boxes in our previous episode. And just in general, just wow. Wow from the topic, because personally I've never heard of it before. And then wow because so much has happened between these weeks, you know? We have been doing so many different things, meeting different people. Like, we recently met two lovely individuals who potentially want us to come on and do a investigation with them.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
I know, I'm excited for that too. And then there was another one who has this haunted manor, and we just kind of have to like pick a date for that one. So
haunted
we have to,
manor?
Yes, a haunted manor, and then they bring in a medium and everything, and it's this whole event. So,
I am up for that, for sure.
Well, yes. So we'll have to find a date. I think they do it like once a month, and then we'll have to look at the invitation. I don't write invitation.
It's a haunted manor.
I know. It's like what is that? Haunted mansion?
Places. Yeah. That'd be cool at Disneyland. I wonder if it's really haunted.
Maybe the one in Disneyland is. I don't think the one in Disney World is. Does the one in Disneyland have real skeletons?
No. Does the one in Disney World have real skeletons?
No, but I thought the one in Disneyland, like Disneyland in general, the Pirates of the Caribbean or something, I thought they had like real skeletons.
I don't know that.
What? You lived next to Disneyland for like your whole life and you didn't know that? Did you have a season pass?
I did at one point.
And you didn't know that? What was the point of getting the season pass? Do you even like Disney?
I wasn't there to perform forensic work. I was there to enjoy the rides.
I wasn't
the
there
vibes.
to perform forensic work either. So there's so many hidden mouse symbols throughout the park.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Oh, you knew that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, did you know that you could get, like, free things throughout the park, too? If you know special different codes?
Like what kinds of codes?
Like code words? Did you also know that at the Toy Story restaurant, if you say Andy's coming, the toys have to drop? Did you know that? Huh?
They have to drop?
They have to drop because Andy's coming. They can't know. The toys are like the surfers.
Oh, they're dressed up.
Yeah, so on like an intercom or something, it's like, Andy's coming, and then they kind of look around and everybody like freezes.
I would be annoyed, like, working, and they're like, oh, another person said it. Oh, man.
Well, you know, when you work at Disney, you want to work at Disney.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true.
My friend had worked there for an internship, and she absolutely adored it. I was so jealous. I wanted to work there. Literally, first time ever going to Disney World, went to Epcot and saw Alice, and I cried. I was like, oh, it's you. And I'm like, why am I crying? I'm like a grown adult, and I know this is somebody in a costume.
For sure.
But yes, I absolutely adore Epcot. But back onto like just the fun things that are happening with us. So we do have a Patreon now, and the Patreon kind of shows like behind the scenes of how we make things, whether that's like photos or just kind of, I don't know, just some miscellaneous Grim Grotto things. Yeah, whatever we post. There's a free tier if you'd like to join. You can find it through the link in this episode. And then we also will be having like classes and stuff soon. I know that's not like, we don't have any dates at this time, but
it's coming.
It's coming. And what classes? Well, you'll have to stay tuned, and you could stay tuned on our Instagram, which is Grotto _ So I'm excited. I'll be teaching the classes. Dave might be doing a few things.
I'll be around.
Yeah, he'll be around, and it'll be a good time. And in general, the summer months are coming, and that is always such an exciting time for me, too.
Oh, for what?
For what? It's like paranormal season to me. Because the weather's nice, so I don't mind staying up late and going to all these haunted places with you. I don't know, I just have more energy to do things.
Yeah.
While in the winter, I'm pretty sleepy.
You go into hibernation mode.
I do go into hibernation. I grab my cat, we curl up in a ball, and then we don't wake up until the springtime.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of exciting things. So I can't wait.
A lot of journeys to come.
Yeah. There's a lot that we can't wait to share with you. But speaking of sharing,
I have a question of the week for you.
Okay.
I came prepared. I enjoy this. And I swear this ties in to what we'll be talking about.
Okay.
But what happens when enough people believe in a monster? And does belief alone make it real? And I ask this because you and I have talked a lot about cultural differences and what people believe in and myths and legends. And you talk about, in the Philippines, for example, some of the legends like the wak-wak, people truly believe in as a lived experience. Mm-hmm. They're very fearful of this. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what do you believe makes a monster real? Is it just people believing that it exists? Are these lived experiences? What is it?
Well, I guess after discussing the Dybbuk box and finding out that, like, Dybbuks are real, but the box itself to contain a Dybbuk was more so a story told by this one man that became this, like, cult classic, I guess, if you want to call it. And so I feel that if it's talked about enough, it becomes real because multiple people believe in it, hence may skew their views of items or their thought process. So let's say, for the wak-wak, for example, maybe one person saw a really big fruit bat. The fruit bats in the Philippines are massive. And you didn't believe me, and then I showed you a picture.
Yeah.
They're like my size.
I was about to get jumped in the parking lot by one of those.
So, fruit bats are huge. And at nighttime, the way that they fly, they're more so like gliders, probably because they're just really heavy. And what they have to do is climb up on something and basically fall to get enough air under their wings. So if they're climbing a tall tree to then fall to get enough air under their wings, that might scare somebody if it's nighttime and they can't really see well, but they see this huge bat-like figure all of a sudden, like, coming at them, screeching, because at nighttime you are more likely to hear bats because it's quieter out, so they're using their echolocation. And if this bat decided to plummet from a tree to get enough wind under its wings to then fly, it's going to be screeching to make sure that it's not going to run into another tree. So you're going to get that wak-wak screech as the bat is propelling to the ground. So that person sees it, that person's scared. That person takes the name, maybe they use wak-wak because when these giant wings flap, it makes like a whoosh, whoosh noise. So now you got wak-wak. And then it tells one person, and that person tells another person, and then
It's passed on through
boom,
the generations.
Wak-wak. And it was a man, so then the females are like, oh, they were coming for you. And then, you know, we just kind of add on to it. So, yeah, I think that it can be a collective thought that could be brought to life. Or it could be real, okay? I believe in the wak-wak.
But what is reality? And this is what I think we're going to get into a little bit today. Does an idea of something or the perception of reality, of the existence of that, then make it real?
I think it makes it real to the person.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it too, this can be, the question that you ask can be used for anything. Like if you look at it, like if somebody truly believes that the sky is purple.
I was going to use the same analogy.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
No, you weren't.
We continue.
If they truly believe it, they can convince themselves that it is.
It's their reality.
Yeah, and that's just their reality. The brain is an extremely powerful thing. Just like, for example, energy drinks. Caffeine, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say we both have the same energy drink. It has no effect on me, but has a complete jittery effect on you. And you're like, didn't we drink the same thing, this or that? Oh, you must have a tolerance. And I'm like, no, I just kept thinking that it wouldn't affect me. And now I don't think it affects me because I'm just like, no, it's not going to. So sometimes it's that mental game with yourself, and then sometimes it's actually there.
Yeah, I think so. I think, too, there's a lot that goes into a person's willingness or openness to experience a different type of reality. And I've used this example before because I've studied anthropology, but I've personally spoken to anthropologists who have gone to study somewhere else and have had experiences they could not explain that were aligned with the beliefs of the local people that they were going to study. In fact, one anthropologist told me a story of how before going on this trip to this village she had never been to, she had this vision of the local shaman, and she recognized that person when she got there. She'd never been there before in her life, and never been around this cultural belief or immersed in it, and had this unexplainable experience. So I think it maybe is the openness to experience something different than your own world beliefs as well.
Yeah, I think so, because I have like a story going off that story of her seeing something, but I would 100% agree that it could be potentially your own beliefs, and or if you are surrounded by it, because that movie, The Skeleton Key, there's that girl who comes in as a house sitter. Well, she sits and takes care of the male of the house, and in that movie she didn't believe in voodoo or anything like that. But then the woman in the house kind of set traps in a way to really get her to start second-guessing her beliefs, to the point where she put salt, or was it sand, in her doorway.
Right.
So that that lady wouldn't cross it because she wanted to cause her harm. Mm-hmm. And it was if you want to cause me harm, you can't cross this. So then at that point, the caretaker believed in all of it, and then they were able to get her.
Yeah, it became reality.
Yeah. And then off the vision thing, I had a dream before I went to the Philippines, before I went to like go visit. And it was about these two men in a car in the middle of my rice field. And what was wild was the plane, because we had to take like a layover and all of that, but the plane to the Philippines, the two men from my dream were in line waiting to get on that plane, and they turned around and asked my mom if she knew anything about the tsunamis that was happening there, like if the super cat was closed. And I was like, Mom, don't talk to them. And then she was like, oh, they're just asking a question. And I was like, no, they can ask anybody a question, but they're asking you. You weren't like directly behind her. We were 4 people in between us that they could have asked, but they like got out of line to come and specifically ask us. And I was like, no, these are the people from my dream. I'm gonna have a bad time. They're gonna follow me like in my dream. So no, just don't talk to them.
That sounds wild.
Yeah, it was so wild. And then I was freaked out the whole plane, and I was like trying to find them, like the whole flight, right? And then the flight lands, we're getting off the plane, and these people somehow find my mom and I and come up to us and then ask again about the tsunamis. And I was just like, Mom, stop talking to them. And she was just like, they're just asking questions. I was like, no, they were on the plane. They were multiple rows behind us. They had to speed up walking to catch up to us. They could have asked all these other people. They could have asked the flight attendant. They could have asked the pilot that was saying goodbye to us. But instead they asked us. I was like, they are bad news. So we lost them because I told my security guards to watch out for them.
Sounds like a crazy trip to have security guards.
Oh, we always have security guards when we go to the Philippines. When we land in the airport, we have lots of baggage.
I love that. So when we go, we'll be protected.
Yeah. I mean, you'll stick out like a sore thumb, but yeah.
Well, I love these side quests that we've gone on. The Tulpa Effect. I want to get into this, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this topic. And I swear this all relates to what we've been talking about too.
Well, it does relate, because let's start with what is a tulpa, and that is basically this entity or being or cryptid, what have you, that is created in our minds. And that could be our personal creation, it could be a group theory, but either way like that, there's supposedly this being, and they're able to think, have their own feelings, will, emotions, memories, and they're as if there's like a separate person living with you or living within your head, and they don't leave you.
Yeah, they emanate from within, or they're created as your own imagination, but the idea is that they can take on a life form of their own with their own independent thoughts, and sometimes for the good and sometimes for the more sinister aspect. And I heard about somebody by the name of Alexander David Neal, who I guess in the 20th century had gone to Tibet to study as a Buddhist practitioner and practiced creating a tulpa herself by using, I guess, intense meditation and intentions. So she created this tulpa, so it was this jolly monk that existed outside of herself, and eventually gained independence, and she had to dissolve it because it had more of a mischievous undertone to its behavior. So that was, from my understanding, really the first time the Western world was exposed to this, because she came out with a book and like wrote about it and so forth. So
ooh, can you get this book?
I think so.
Can we
yeah,
read it?
That'd be really cool to read about her experience.
How do you dissolve a tulpa?
Through complex spiritual rituals, she said, which took, I guess it took months.
It took
to
months?
get rid of this.
Oh my god.
It's kind of like, you know, as a kid, you have an imaginary friend. So imagine that you see this imaginary friend, you interact with it, and it feels like it's part of your own imagination. You can make the imaginary friend whoever you want it to be. But then it starts to talk back to you, or it starts to have its own intentions, or tell you to do things, or starts behaving in a way that doesn't really quite feel like it matches what you originally intended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that mind voice that's just kind of lingering, that you know isn't your voice, but it's within your mind nonetheless, and you're having a conversation with it.
Exactly.
Are you sure that I just don't have one? Because I have conversations in my head. You see it. You see when I'm having a conversation in my head, because my eyes twitch. They go back and forth depending on who's talking. You're like, why are you looking at me like that? You've seen it. Why are you noting?
You do get quiet.
I get quiet and then I start going like this.
It's pretty rare though, because you and I are always, when we're together, we're usually talking most of the time.
Yeah, that's true. But you saw it a lot when we first started talking. But it is interesting, because what happens if kids manifest it as well, due to it being a strong thought or a strong want of like an imaginary friend or a friend of some sort, and hence you create this tulpa, and then that's what kind of when you get those kids that go, I didn't do it, they did it, and then the adults or the caretakers are just like, where are you looking? What are we looking at? And it's this being, and that kind of leads me to an example, which is The Babadook. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, yeah, I have,
Okay.
which is a cool movie. I liked it.
You liked it?
Yeah.
I mean, I liked The Babadook, but there was like a scene that I was like, what in the world? So,
my memory isn't strong, so
okay.
if I'm forgetting something, forgive me.
Yeah, you should ask for forgiveness. So in The Babadook, there was a mom who was on the way to give birth to their child, and then the dad's driving, crashes the vehicle, the dad dies, and then through her depression, she makes the Babadook. So
it was like a projection of her own emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you are feeling high emotions, you can also manifest things. And that's why I'm always a big contender for, like, you need to calm your emotions. You can't be high emotions due to potentially making something on accident or manifesting negative energy or bad spirits in some type of way. So that's why I wanted to use the Babadook as an example, because that's like the perfect example. She manifested a demon due to being depressed.
This is a really deep discussion that we could go down, of just because I see a lot of similarities between what's referred to as the Tulpa Effect. So we talk about tulpas, but the Tulpa Effect is the idea that if you put enough energy or thought into something, or believe in something enough, and especially in a collective group setting, that whatever you believe in, whether it's a cryptid, whether it's a spirit, an evil entity, can actually manifest and come to life because of the collective.
Real.
Exactly. So it kind of got me thinking. I like what you're saying too about your emotions can have an ability sometimes to manifest things. It's also the reason why throughout my life I've always had this almost superstitious take on, if you have something going on, some like issue or some kind of conflict, it's not good to keep that unresolved before you go to bed. Like, you got to resolve that. You got to like clear your mind. I don't want to go to sleep with all of these thoughts and negative things in my mind, because I can't sleep, but then I'm afraid of having nightmares and things like that. So I always try to go to sleep with positive intentions on my mind. But this whole topic kind of got me thinking about kids and the fear of monsters in the closet or something under your bed. And you talk to kids who actually have these experiences and paranormal experiences and so forth, and it's almost like as a society we teach kids what to be afraid of. And I was because I was watching this Netflix, it was like a kids show with music, and it was an animated thing, but there was a song called "There's No Monsters in My House." It was like, there's no monsters that live here, and it's like, imagine as a kid watching this and you think, I didn't know that there were monsters in my house. I didn't know this was a possibility, but now I'm afraid of it. Like, it's like there didn't need to be this fear, but we're like teaching kids that they need to be afraid of monsters in the closet. So enough kids are thinking about it, and kids actually have these experiences. And I wonder if that is part of this whole Tulpa effect that we're talking about.
Yeah, probably. Well, speaking of kids, another big kind of Tulpa, I guess, that's viewed in cartoons is the fairy odd parents.
I don't...
That's okay. They're two fairies that the main character, Timmy, he has, and he's the only one who should see them, and he can't tell people about them because they're all in his head, but they just grant wishes and make his life better. But as an adult, if you're watching it, his parents kind of suck. And so as a child, he wants to escape his parents and I'm pretty sure he has a babysitter that's really rude, like really mean and all of that. Yeah. And so then there's that manifestation of these fairies that he talks to. And there's memes and stuff that he still talks to the fairies to this day in his like 40s. But I think that shows a good, of an imaginary friend. They could be there to console you because there's two of them. So one can play more of the good and one's more of the bad, which is kind of how it is portrayed, because Cosmo is more of the mischievous one, while Wanda is like the let's all behave and follow the rules.
This rings a bell. I know I've heard of this before, but I've never watched it.
No, it's okay. But it's just a good example for like a kid cartoon where they're maybe being introduced to Tulpas.
Well, I think too that when it comes to the Tulpa effect, I don't want to create this impression that I believe that any kind of paranormal encounter or anything like that is a result of people's imaginations. But I almost wonder, when you watch paranormal shows like Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, all that stuff, people ghost hunt with the lights off. Are people creating an environment that they expect to be scary, where paranormal events will occur, and that actually causes unexplainable things like doors slamming or cabinets opening, things falling over, as a result of their expectations?
Oh, so they're like manifesting the portals.
Yeah. Bring on the portals.
Right. They're like, there's multiple portals. Yeah. I think it can go both ways. When you and I did like our first quote unquote like investigation, I made sure to not skew your thoughts with anything. And I think that is similar to the whole, if we go into a dark room, are we setting these expectations for A, B, and C? So I think it can go both ways depending on what the person says or if they tell you to feel a certain way. Just like voice recording where they say, oh, it says my name, but then everybody else listens to it. You're like, okay.
Well, when they put the subtitles on the screen too, I think that causes
helps,
you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up though, because when it comes to the paranormal and the power of suggestion, I guess you could say, they actually did an experiment in the 1970s called the Philip experiment, where they got a group of people and they basically created this whole story of this ghost, and they essentially conducted a seance and everything with this fictional character that they had made up. And a lot of people had reported paranormal experiences, things happening like knocks, table vibrations, whispers, things of that sort during their session. So I almost wonder, like, is this a psychology experience where they created something and then they're saying that it was because of the Tulpa effect? Or did they actually have paranormal experiences of something that wasn't the ghost that they had created? You know, it's possible whatever room they did it in was actually haunted. So that was just an interesting example.
That is an interesting example. And, I mean, paranormal things, we have them happen here with the ghost cat.
Right.
And so we're not even thinking about it, then poof, there it goes. Like, recently,
we talk about it more, than it starts happening.
Yeah, and then recently, remember, I was like, oh, Lupin, come here. And you were like, who is she talking? You came in the room, and then Lupin came in the room, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
When I thought Lupin was in the kitchen with me.
Right.
That was, I don't know, like a week or two ago?
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So
I was like, yes, Ghost Cat is back.
Yes, I missed the ghost cat.
Me too.
Where are you, Ghost Kitty?
Hope we have more encounters soon.
I know. And like the ball went off and we weren't even thinking about it. So I think the false reality can happen and maybe it doesn't happen, and maybe the false reality manifests reality. Hence reality inception.
It's a lot of reality.
It is a lot of realities. We're like in the 6th dimension at this point with all these realities.
Well, let's go manifest a portal.
Okay, we can go try.
That sounds amazing. But I enjoyed going down this rabbit hole journey with you.
I enjoy going down it with you as well. And if you would like to chime in and let us know what you think of tulpas or manifestations in any type of way, feel free to email us at grimgrottopodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram at grimgrotto_. We're on Patreon as well at grimgrotto. And as always, if the grotto is grim, explore within.